it becomes illegal. So 20 weeks is actually a mid-ground, because if you divide 9 months of pregnancy, then 20 weeks is somewhere in between, okay? And he also said most of the abortion cases occur before 20 weeks. 90%, over 90% of abortion actually occurred before 20 weeks. And he also said after 20 weeks, unless, okay, of course, if the mother's health is endangered, if the baby will harm the mother's health, then there's also an opportunity for the woman to have an abortion. Okay, even after 20 weeks, if the mother's health is endangered, is facing some kind of danger. Okay, part 3. Joe? Okay, those of you who are sitting in front in first row are called first. So Joe, how about part 3, the arguments? What did you hear? It also addresses 2 sides, pro-choice, pro-life. So he starts from pro-life and then pro-choice. Did you talk about pro-life first?
Pro-life is that some people maybe based on the religious reason.
Okay.
So they believe no matter how the children or the baby should not be aborted.
Okay. Good. And he said Christian religion believes that life begins at the moment of conception. Okay, conception. But if you read the Bible, you will realize actually the Bible says even before the child is born, the child is conceived, God already knows that person, right? That's pro-life. Michelle, Yayun. Then he moves on to address pro-choice people. What did he say?
It must be the counseling for men. Is that the one? You must have the woman must receive counseling individually or in groups, and also she will have 72-hour waiting time before abortion, and then because the abortion is free but not easy.
Yes, right. So when he addresses the pro-choice people, he says, free, when you make a free decision, it doesn't mean it's an easy decision. If you make a free choice, it shouldn't be an easy choice. And he used an example. What's that example? Do you remember? Yes. When you make a decision to abort a child, it shouldn't be so easy, just like getting a driver's license, right? It shouldn't be like getting a driver's license. So free choice doesn't mean easy choice. It has to be an informed choice. People need to be educated before they make the final choice. Okay, then the last section, conclusion. Michelle Lin.
Finally, the woman is guilty, but
The woman is not guilty.
But he says because he has another additional condition that she is not guilty, but I'm not.
Okay, the subtitle is a little bit misleading. If you read the subtitle, you might be led to believe the woman is guilty. What it says is the fact that the woman was sentenced to be guilty should be overturned. Okay, in other words, the woman is not guilty. Okay, but then they establish a law later. Anybody who wants to have an abortion after 20 weeks, then it's not legal. But did he provide some kind of alternative or some kind of a better solution to this problem? Remember, at the very beginning, we have two positions, pro-life, pro-choice. Do we have anything else? Michelle, did you hear anything else? No? Who heard another position? Jean? Yes, that's the conclusion. Pro-child. Jean, can you tell us a little bit about what pro-child is all about?
Because it's, I'm not sure, but I think he said about pro-child because there are over 50 million kids or maybe teenagers grow up without love, without parents, because they are unwanted and they are in foster home.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly. So now, the issue is not only pro-life. Yes, we respect life. Fetus is a human being. And we also respect mother's decision. But the problem is, if we have many unwanted children, what should we do about it? Then we need to think about those children who are born, but they're unwanted. Do taxpayers have to do something to help them? That's the so-called pro-child position. Okay, so it's already beyond pro-life, pro-choice, right? It's after the child is born. What should we do about it to provide better life for this child? That's pro-child position. Okay, so in other words, he is encouraging us to provide protection and care for unwanted children. And if you watch this movie, the complete version, you will see that Justice Kirkland adopted a child. You know, that's why it's a hard decision, you know, because that adopted child was born anyway, right? That child was never aborted. Okay. And he adopted that child to provide protection and care for that child who could have been aborted. And after the child was born, she could have been unwanted. But he made a decision even before the case. He made a decision to adopt an unwanted child. That unwanted child was conceived probably due to rape or extramarital affair or premarital sex or some other reasons. Okay. All right, so I hope this film is useful and interesting, informative. Okay, now, the question is, how do you describe a ball like this? How do you describe a ball like this? You can call it an embryo, okay, even before that, an embryo, or a fetus, or a baby. It depends on how you view it, right? Then which one is a human? Which one is a person? If you think about embryo or a fetus, embryo certainly doesn't strike you as a person. Baby is certainly a person. Fetus, in Chinese, 胎儿. It depends on you focus on 胎 or 儿, right? 胎 is less human. It's just a ball, something there. An animal can have babies too. But 儿, then it's very much human being. And it also depends on how you translate the word abortion. Abortion, 堕胎, 堕胎, then that's, the inhuman side, right? But 堕儿, all of a sudden you feel, oh, that's a person. So that's a use of language, and language use affects how you view your world. It also affects your decision making. Okay, there are also other videos I'm not going to show. You can watch them. Of course, you can see that a lot of them are pro-life, because many years ago when I was a graduate student, before I went to the States, I really had never watched any movie on abortion. I was actually very ignorant. And as many other women, I felt, well, it's not a big thing. Abortion is just like in Chinese, we translate it as 流产, right? 流产, 人工流产. In other words, it's, it's 流产, it's just to get rid of, to let something flow, right? Artificially, something flows away. It really involves no life, nothing, no emotion. So as a young woman at that time, I just I was very ignorant. Of course, I've never had an abortion. I actually have 4 children. But what I wanted to say is, before I went to the States, I was very ignorant. I didn't know what abortion is all about. If you watch this one, you will see a representation of abortion. It's explosion, and then all the limbs, head, limbs, are separated. That's from this representation. But if you want to see more gross representation, you will see you use a vacuum cleaner into a woman's uterus. First, you have to stir it to break the head, the limbs, the body. Break the body so you can use a vacuum cleaner to suck all the pieces out. And you have to make sure all the pieces are there after you take out everything and place them on the table. You make sure nothing is missing. But I didn't know that before I went. But after I went there, I watched a movie like that. That really changed my decision, my completely thinking about this whole issue, because I was too ignorant before. So I would encourage you to watch videos like this to educate yourself. What is abortion? So men and women, you can make an informed decision when you have sex. That's not a trivial thing, because there's a good chance a baby will be conceived. And once it's conceived, you have to make a decision. And that's very hard. All right, now let's move on to the case today. The case is called the stem cell research conflict. Why are we concerned about this? Because George Bush gave money to some researchers who were working on human genetic engineering. We have some engineers here, but this one is human genetic engineering. The debate here is whether the federal government should finance these research teams to do stem cell research. Of course, we know that stem cells can transform themselves into the many different cell types that go to make up a body. It's very useful. Stem cells are very useful. It can transform themselves into human body eventually. And as a result, they can be very useful for people who have diseases such as Parkinson's or Alzheimer, right? You can help a lot of people lengthen their life or, become healthy because of donation of stem cells. But the problem is stem cells are extracted from embryos. Embryos. Like these, from embryos. Now the problem is, are embryos live or just a ball like that? Okay? So the stem cell debate is much more complex than just ordinary abortion debate. The abortion debate usually hinges on pro-life versus pro-choice. Okay? But for those anti-abortionists, those pro-life people, there are two conflicting thoughts here. On the one hand, if you pro-life, you want to protect babies. On the other hand, if you use stem cells to help others, you also protect other patients' lives, right? You pro-life, then whose life should be saved? Can we sacrifice one life to save another person's life? So that's the issue here for anti-abortionists. Whose life should we save? Okay. It's also related to another issue, cloning. Again, cloning, Dr. Rao, Jerry Rao is going to come to talk about cloning in a few minutes. Cloning, they insisted, the pro-cloning advocates, those who support pro-cloning, said, it is an unimplanted ball of cells. Ball of cells. They are not persons. So, so they feel that's no problem. And some argue it is even less of a potential person that a stem cell derived from in vitro fertilization, 试管婴儿, in vitro fertilization, since cloning uses unfertilized eggs. So cloning should be no problem because it uses unfertilized eggs. It's not like embryos, right? The embryos, this is unfertilized eggs. Is it person or not? So what we're debating here is really definition. Again, what is a person? What is life? What is human being? Now, there are two cases here. In one case, a drug addict woman who was sentenced to prison for 12 years in South Carolina. Why? Because she smoked crack cocaine while she was pregnant. And her unborn baby died in the 8th month. Okay, so this woman was sentenced to prison for 12 years. Then you can also argue, is it fair for her to be sentenced like that when he took drugs and her baby, unborn baby, died? Okay, can we say that she killed the baby? Now again, the problem is, what is killing? Remember, Benson Xu came here 2 weeks ago to talk about the definition of killing, right? He asked you if you purchased an airplane ticket and prayed that the plane will crash. You actually never got on the plane. You just purchased a ticket, but you never got on the plane. And you prayed that the plane would crash, and it did. And somebody on the plane died. Can you say that you kill the person?